Hey guys, what's up? You're watching Up and Adam. My name's Adam Knoll. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the guy bringing you guys all the weekly interviews and recaps from your favorite celebrities and pop culture influencers. Now, today's no different. Today, we are back with Ronald Richards, who is here to clear up a few of the things that have been happening on social media. Guys, this has been a frenzy this past week. So he's back to not only offer Erika a deal, right, in this exclusive interview, but also clear up a few things being said about the Mistresses, his pay, and everything in between. Guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell because, well, you don't want to miss anything we have coming up. With that, let's jump right in.
It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hey, Ronald, how are you?
Hey, Adam, how are you doing today?
Good. It's Friday. We're about to hit the weekend. I don't have any complaints, but for you, I'm definitely not as busy. So how's it going over there?
It's going. It's always a challenge dealing with lawyers, non-lawyers, people that live in different countries, the general public, but it's actually going pretty good. On a Friday, we got through another week. I've been moving around this week, and I'm happy that I had a moment to stop and talk to one of my favorite interviewers.
Hey, I appreciate that. You know, I have to say, everyone has been following you on Twitter this past week. People follow you on Twitter anyways, right? We're always waiting for daily updates, if not weekly updates. So things are always coming out from your side, but obviously you've been very active on Twitter and we've seen a lot of tweets from Erika as well. Before I get into those, I do want to bring up a topic, if you don't mind. There was one headline that I had to cover, and it was the fact that a lot of fans believe if you're going to go after Erika Girardi, whatever you want to call her, if you're going to go after her, why are you not going after the Mistresses? And I thought that was actually kind of a great question.
It was a great question and a very tactical sort of reveal by Erika, because it sounds so simple. Well, why are you going after me even though I've had $25 million worth of expenses paid? Why don't you go after all these other women that my husband, who now can't defend himself because he has dementia, apparently was involved in? And the short answer is, I found no money spent by Thomas Girardi personally of firm assets against other women, that have been given to other women, number one. And two, my mission statement is not to go after other women. It's only to go after the target that I was retained to go after. I don't have a contract to go after those other women. If Erika really had evidence that somehow another 25 million was sent to these alleged mistresses, wouldn't she provide that? And then the trustee would retain counsel, and they would presumably go after those other women. But the real answer is, I believe that there is no other monies that were diverted to other women.
Well, that's kind of interesting too, because it just goes to show you how easily everyone can be swayed by media and headlines. Because as soon as this came out and we see where fans are now kind of jumping on Erika's bandwagon and they're like, I don't think it's fair that only you go after Erika because Tom Girardi probably did all of these alleged crimes, but she had nothing to do with it, no idea what was going on. And now all of a sudden she has to pay everything back. What about the Mistresses? It makes you really think about it, but that was a great answer because it kind of just puts a capiche to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to go after mistresses that existed. And I would, of course, see who would get appointed to that. But that's just a sort of a cheap kind of diversion because there are no other people like that. I'm not even aware of any mistresses, to be frank, that he would spend that kind of money on. I mean, from all outgoing facts, they had a good marriage, and he spent a lot of money on her, at least $25 million worth.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to also bring up another thing. You tweeted on obviously Twitter, on your social media, obviously regarding Erika, obviously she is taking too much of it. Here is our offer. For each $100,000 she voluntarily returns of the 25 million of her personal expenses that were paid by Girardi Keys, we will add 10% if returned within 10 days. Now, that was 3 days ago, so I'm guessing there is a countdown at this point. But can you please break that down for us? Because I, to be honest, didn't even necessarily know what this meant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me break it down. Basically, she was suggesting in a unsolicited tweet directed towards my office that we're all about the fees. I mean, in order to attract effective lawyers, every trustee in the United States pays a lawyer on a contingency. We don't get our expenses paid unless we collect any money. And that has to be approved by the court. And there's nothing, basically everything's at risk. So yet, notwithstanding that's common knowledge, she tried to imply we're all about the fees. So I said, hey, look, if you just want to voluntarily return some of this money to the state, I'll add 10%. So if you return $1 million, I'll put up 100 to show that I was serious about the victims and I do care, and I was going to put my money where my mouth is. But, you know, after further reflection, Adam, I'm willing to basically, in the next 7 days, whatever she returns, I won't charge a penny. So I just rather get the victims the full amount of their money back. So if she returns $1 million, I won't take any attorney's fees. So if she really wants to punish me, return as much money as possible in the next 7 days. After 7 days, I mean, I've already spent so much money as it is, but I'm willing to wash that away if she just wants to return a big sum and we can forget it. But after that, I mean, it's not really fair. I mean, I've been putting in hundreds of hours, tens of thousands of dollars at time, been the subject of relentless attacks by her. And I made a deal that I get a portion of the recovery. That's only the recovery if I recover. Again, so there's no question, my expenses are lost if I don't recover any money. I don't, It's not like I get those on top of my fees. And by the way, to clear this up for everybody else, we don't have big expenses. I mean, we may have some outside counsel fees defending her frivolous motions, but the big portion would be my attorney's fees that I get if we collect any money. Right now, she's even refusing to give us the lottery winnings, which were clearly an assignment of firm fees. So I would say, Adam, that right now we're talking about zero money that is coming to my office, and that so we can put this to rest. She has money. She can return a portion of it this week, and it'll be, you know, without legal fees. I think that's pretty fair. What attorney works for free? But I'm willing to do it, and even though it would be my, you know, prompting that got her to return it, I'd rather just get it returned at this point.
Well, there was at some point, and actually, I feel like that's a pretty fair deal if you're giving 7 days and you're willing to waive your fees. But at one point throughout social media, and I'm sure different content creators, there was a big question mark hanging over you as to whether or not you actually get everything that you've put into this back at the end of the day, no matter what. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I think everyone's really confused. I'm on a straight contingency, so I just get a percentage of whatever we collect plus costs that are approved, like depositions and things like that. We haven't taken any depositions. So let's just say the costs are $50,000 after, you know, 9 depositions. That's what we would get back. Not guaranteed. That would just come out of the money we collected if it's approved. We don't get our costs guaranteed. So I'm advancing those out of my own pocket. The estate is paying for none of my costs. I'm advancing it all. So you need to hire a lawyer that has some resources. I mean, that's not a quitter and that is going to, you know, prosecute the case aggressively. No one's complained on my side that I haven't moved the case forward and gotten a lot of good information and put a lot of legal pressure on her to try to do something about it. I mean, that's what I'm really paid to do. I'm not paid to keep quiet and get things in a kind of a calm, sort of touchy-feely way. I'll tell you, Adam, in the collection world, there's an expression, the oil can that squeaks the loudest gets paid. And I can tell you that if Erika didn't feel pressure, legal pressure, she wouldn't bother paying at all. And some of the things that I think put pressure on her is by the public scrutinizing what really happened here. And what really happened here is her husband paid $25 million to her company in an improper manner. And that money, some of it was probably from clients. I mean, it's not like 25 million fell out of the sky.
Right.
I mean, that money originated from either lawyers that never got their contingency fees on cases they split with Mr. Girardi's firm, or from lenders that he borrowed money to finance cases, but instead improperly spent it on personal expenses. And it's just not okay that she hides behind another lawyer that is just going to take the position, well, her husband managed all of this. I mean, so what? She signed all the tax returns. We showed she spent the money. What? I mean, it's not okay. But if that's your position, that look, I just get to keep all that money, you'll make that argument. We'll present a different argument, and you'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think that it's realistic to think your husband can divert $25 million to your own company. You guys filed joint tax returns, but you get a pass because now you're going to say your husband handled everything. I mean, does that sound realistic to you in the real world, that a spouse just gets a free pass because they now say their husband handled everything and money was improperly diverted from the husband's business that originated from lenders, clients, and other attorneys who never got their fees? I mean, come on, you don't need me to the public doesn't need me to tell you the golden rule. You know, that doesn't fly. That's not going to fly.
Right. All right. Well, I also want to talk about, a little bit more about your Twitter, because you have gotten a lot of, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but backlash because you put out tweets when it comes to the case. And a lot of times you're coming in with facts and court documents, and you are just kind of updating the public as to what's going on. And last time we spoke, I even said, it kind of reminds me of the O.J. Simpson trial or Casey Anthony, I'm not comparing these to the Girardi cases, but when these cases and these trials were going on, you would see the attorneys come outside to a ton of press who would have the microphones like right in your face, and they would ask you so many questions. Now in 2020, 2021, you have a new modern way of doing it, which is through social media. And this is kind of your way of communicating with the public, but a lot of people disagree with it. One thing I do have to say is, I see you on here giving us facts, but then I also see Erika on here kind of saying that you're unraveling, making digs. And this isn't just me saying this, this is all over headlines, going back and forth with you in what we call that as a Twitter feud, a Twitter war. Why is one side okay? Erika's allowed to go in on you, but you're not allowed to respond to Erika. Have you seen the hypocrisy in this at all?
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, she likes to cloak me with some special powers. I mean, I'm a lawyer that took on an assignment in a case where the judge specifically said there's no gag order. If there was a gag order, that's a different issue. COVID shut down the courts for the last 18 months. I mean, if we were going to court every day, I'd be allowed to say the same things I said on Twitter to reporters sitting outside the courtroom. You're exactly right. I don't know why other people want to micromanage my Twitter page. I mean, I've been a lawyer for 28 years. I've had hundreds and hundreds of press noteworthy cases. This is not my first and won't be my last. And I have, 30,000 plus followers that enjoy the content. And the backlash is not from my followers. I even took a poll last week, and 92% said they want me to keep posting facts. Before I got hired on the case, I was posting stuff to fill a void where average reporters were not getting, documents and information. So I don't know why this is even an issue. I mean, if the judge says the First Amendment allows attorneys to talk about the cases, it doesn't get changed because Erika's lawyer or Erika says they don't like it, or a lawyer has to behave in a certain way. I mean, I'm entitled to talk about a public case and get facts out there. She has 2.8 million followers between her Twitter account and her Instagram account. The reason why I pointed out my followers is simply one, they're a lot smarter and better, so quantity doesn't always rule above quality. But the other thing is, it just goes to show you how ridiculous it is. She has a massive media machine at her disposal. She's on Housewives every week to millions of fans across the world. I'm not competition when it concerns sort of media saturation. And that's why I don't understand why she's giving me all this attention. I mean,
so
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to ask you a question, because you did mention before that there is a massive PR machine behind Erika. And I know that you tweeted about it. It's somewhere in there, but oh, here it is. What the public doesn't realize, Erika Jayne has a massive PR machine with fake bots and paid persons working our feed. Okay. So my question for you was, because a lot of people thought you were alluding to the fact that Erika has people who work for her that she pays to run her social media accounts and kind of push all of this content out there. Are you saying that, or are you saying that she has a massive PR machine just basically based upon all of the followers that she has already? That's the massive PR machine.
Okay, well, to go to the second statement first, yes, she has a massive PR machine because she has millions of followers, both on Twitter and Instagram combined. I don't know who she employs presently. I've just seen a lot of payments that she's made to PR companies and brand development companies. So it's a reasonable assumption that somebody manages her branding on both her Twitter and Instagram. I don't think she's sitting there doing it herself. And if she is, that's great, because all those followers and branding were bought previously by and sort of cultivated and incubated by professionals to get to the level where she is now. So I'm not saying that I know that every bot or every hater, you would call it, or troll on my Twitter account that makes an invective or attacking comment is working for Erika. I wouldn't know presently who she's paying, but she does have a lot of expenses historically for those type of things. So she's never denied that she doesn't have people working for her that handle her PR. I mean, it would be odd to be on Housewives of Beverly Hills and not have a PR person. I think that would be strange. But again, her followers alone create the massive media machine, combined with, and we know that to be borne out with evidence, because on Thursday, she liked a couple negative comments on a Twitter page about me. It was reported immediately in the media. And then when she made some other comments about me directed toward me, they were reported on. So she does have that influence. I mean, isn't that obvious that if she makes a tweet or an Instagram or a public statement, it gets reported?
Right. Well, in that she said, and I'm sure you already know this, Ronald Richards, you need Lexapro, talk about unraveling. And then there was another tweet done by Gibbs Michael. Ronald Richards, since you want to be a housewife so badly, I have a tagline for you. How about there may be better attorneys, but I'm the thirstiest bee in town. What do you think? And then she retweeted that as well. So we're obviously definitely seeing activity on Erika's side as well. But getting back on track with all of this, one of the things that you do, and I have to applaud this only because when you tweet, a lot of the times when it comes to Erika, you're sharing documents that we haven't seen, which gives credibility. But a lot of fans of Erika, fans of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, or maybe people who aren't fans of her at all, but they might just not be fans of yours, or even fans of yours. It's all over the spectrum. They wonder why it's okay for you to put out court documents that pertain to her Amex bill or things like that. And we had this conversation. You made it very clear, if Erika hands over the court hands over documents to the court, and that is by choice, you guys don't share anything. But if this is your own discovery, it's kind of a different ballgame.
Yeah, I think the public needs to understand stuff that Erika's turned over from court orders. We've never posted because it's not, we just don't do that. I mean, that's just her stuff. If we would do it, we would file it if it was relevant to a motion, but that's not what we typically do as lawyers is post discovery. But she's taken it to an extreme and developed a false narrative that one, I saw someone post, her lawyers haven't even seen some of these documents. Well, too bad. I mean, the fact that she intentionally does not get her own records or other records that she could have access to or could have requested from us doesn't mean that we can't post them. We have other records that we get from sources and third parties. And if we need to use them to refute her false narratives, like we filed a case without any basis and stuff like that, I don't need to show her lawyer anything. I have no duty to him. I can, or her. I'm entitled to post records that I've developed on my own. The fact is that she has no claim to any of those records I posted. They're not her records. The trustee holds the privilege, not my trustee, but Thomas Girardi's trustee holds the privilege to any documents that are obtained that Thomas Girardi may have. But like an Amex bill is not a privileged document. It's silly. The only privilege is her communications with her and her lawyer. There's no right of privacy on a incomplete Amex number. We already have court rules that take care of that. Those Amex numbers are dead. Those accounts are dead. They were partial numbers, and it just shows her charges. So what? That's the basis of the $25 million receivable. That's going to be evidence. That's evidence, and we're allowed to post things that we want, even if it's not evidence. We could post it. I mean, that post was really to respond to her constant claims that she doesn't know, that she never participated in the charge. Specifically, basically, her lawyer tried to pretend that sort of her husband managed the EJ Global account, and it came as a surprise to her that, you know, there was all these charges. And that's why we showed the Amex charge to show, no, you charged them yourself. You knew you were spending this money left and right. You knew you were involved in previous issues with the franchise tax board. And you also know that you filed your own tax return. So again, I don't think the position's ever going to work in court. I filed all these tax returns. I signed them all. My business lost money for over a decade, but yet I don't owe any of this money. And it's all my, go ask my husband. You need to talk to him. I mean, how are we going to talk to him? He's been declared, he's had a conservator appointed to him. I mean, the whole thing, Adam, you don't need me to scrutinize this.
Right.
It's very obvious. I get it. You want to pretend that nothing ever happened and all the money that you spent came from, earnings, but that's not true. That's not what happened here. So the public needs to know that when she goes on TV and says, you got to ask Tom, well, no, you knew as the years go by, you were spending tens of millions of dollars. And now you got to be accountable for the tax returns that you signed. I mean, you can't just say, well, I decided not to talk to my own tax person. I decided not to seek my own tax advice. I totally relied on my husband. That may be somewhat true, but she's pretty sophisticated. And that's why we posted excerpts from the book. She was defiant that she signed her name on the tax return, that it was her money too. I mean, you remember those that we posted sections of her book? Yeah. Yes. So she's not someone that has said, hey, I don't know anything about my tax returns. She's actually taken the opposite position when it was convenient for her. But the bottom line is she's going to be good for the tax returns that she signed, because if we had a system where a spouse could get out of tax liability simply because they years later they said they didn't read the returns or their husband took care of everything, it's just not going to work. And for our purposes, we just need to show that she didn't give anything for those expenses. There was no consideration. And sort of the short legal answer is, you can't have your husband take $25 million from business A and give it to your business B, then you deduct business B from your personal return, that you didn't give anything for that money. you got money for nothing. And so that's why we're able to get that money back, because there was no consideration. And the other thing what people need to understand is the statute of limitations is extended to the same amount of time the IRS gets to collect money. The trustee actually could use that same statute, which is 10 years. So it's important that there be a tax component in my analysis, because it extends it another 4 years from 4 to 6 to 10. So it's important that that we have a long clawback potentially, and also there's an open book account. If we show that she got the benefit of the open book account, which is the $25 million receivable, and she made all the charges, they were all for her company, then we have what's called direct liability. So the last thing I want to clear up is we're not trying to get money back that she was given. We're just trying to create a debt for the money that she received. So the choice is very simple. This case is so simple now. Either you think as a matter of law, she gets $25 million in expenses, but has no liability, meaning no future liability, or you think, well, yeah, if she just got it and didn't pay, there was no consideration, it was basically an account that the firm kept open for her, and now we want a judgment to pay it back, then that's where a settlement comes in, because we know she doesn't have 25 million. She's not going to want to pledge the next 25 millions in earnings. But I mean, if her position is she doesn't have to pay any of it back and has no liability, then that's what, a trial would be for, a summary judgment.
Right. So it's pretty simple at this point.
It is. The firm kept a record for 12 years of every penny it spent on Erika. We have the backup now that she actually, not only they spent it on her, but she spent it. So the only thing that when he says we never gave when her people say, well, no money was giving her directly, does it really matter? All your bill, if I pay all your bills for free and I keep a record of all those expenses, and I say, hey, Adam, one day you got to pay me back. All right, it's on the books of my company. You're going to know that one day you may have to pay that back, right?
Right.
So if you keep allowing me to pay your expenses and I didn't tell you, there's no document that says this is free, what do you think is going to happen? At some point, you got to pay back the money, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's why I don't understand why this is such a hard concept. It's not like there's not only is there no document that says this was a gift or whatever, Erika took those expenses and deducted them on her tax return with her husband. So their tax rate in most years was 0. So
if there would have been that document, would she be exempt from paying back this money?
Well, if she had a legitimate document that he gifted 25 million and there was no deductions on her return, yeah, that may be a different story. But then there was no gift tax return filed. I mean, we would say it's a sham document because I don't believe that's what happened. But yeah, if you can give your wife $25 million, but then she can't deduct it on your joint return. See, it's not just the gift. It's not just that they paid the expenses of her company. What makes the corroboration is she signed the tax return where they went back and deducted all of that from their personal income tax. So
right.
This shows that this does not look like a gift. It looks like a receivable on the books of Girardi and Keese, and then a deduction by Erika and her husband, Tom Girardi, on their tax return. So it's very tied in. Like it wasn't by mistake. And then don't forget, an independent accountant who's not going to lie is going to say, of course, it was not a gift. That's why I filed the return as an expense. So don't forget, it's not just the two of them. I have a third party to corroborate all this.
Right. All right. Well, and I kind of want to jump into this past week's episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I know that you get to see all of this footage aside from what we see on the show, because I feel like at once you might have said that you can't stomach watching the whole show. So we see at the end of the episode for this week that Erika is sharing with Kyle Richards, and I have it right here, so I want to bring it up in quote, that way I don't mess this up. It said, well, it was Erika saying, let me make sure I have it so I don't butcher it. Erika was telling Kyle in the scene for next week's episode, Tom's house was broken into, and then he confronted the burglar and then had to have eye surgery. And then my son had to go over and help. And then he rolled his car 5 times on the way home. Yeah, I'm under a lot of stress. Were you expecting that? Have you already seen that footage?
Well, I've heard about that footage tangentially, but it doesn't really say a lot because we never were able to corroborate the house was burglarized. I don't have any police report on that, and her son doesn't work for Pasadena PD, so I don't know really what. I was more focused on the threats to Sutton. I thought were more interesting.
And well, she said, "I'm not threatening you. I'm promising you," which is in fact a threat. But asking her, "Do you want to get sued?" This was pretty intimidating for Sutton. I feel it came off kind of aggressive. Well, not kind of. It was aggressive.
Yep. Well, I mean, don't forget. Again, you know, she's a self-admitted user of Lexapro. I mean, one of the side effects of that drug is aggressiveness. You know, agitation, restlessness, difficulty sleeping. I mean, there is side effects of that drug, but I don't know. She's an aggressive person generally, and she even put on her Twitter page a scene from The Gladiator right after that episode where the guy, you know, just beat the other, where the guy that plays the Gladiator. What's his name?
I forgot, but I'm literally looking at the scene right now.
Russell, yeah. The guy that played the guy that played, you know, the movie Russell Crowe. Was it Russell Crowe? Yeah, Russell Crowe, the guy that played the Gladiator.
Okay.
So yeah, so basically she played that scene, but yeah, I think she's pretty aggressive, and she's married to a lawyer that his whole career would attack other lawyers. I mean, so she's learned this is a strategy. In every mean letter I've seen Tom Girardi write opposing counsel when they were trying to collect the money, including the RHOBH lawyers, he would write them threatening letters like this. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to do this. I mean, that's what she was taught. So it doesn't surprise me that one of the tactics is let's attack Ronald Richards and see if he'll wilt. I mean, that's a tactic. It's a litigation tactic. Again, it's costing her a lot of money, and it cost her a lot of money. And I don't know why her benefactor or this account that she has access to, if there's no benefactor, would want to waste money on this. I mean, it's not going to change the evidence in the case.
Okay. All right. Well, we obviously will have more and more coming out as the story continues. Well, this scandal continues to unfold. So I'm sure we'll have you back in the future to help us kind of break this down. And I know that your time is extremely valuable. So before we let you go, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
All right. So we know that, and this is off topic for Beverly Hills. We're on Salt Lake City now for a second, just because I wanted to pick your brain on this. We know that the Southern District of New York, they are going in on Jen Shah right now. And eventually next year, she will be going to court for her 2 indictments, right? Or her indictment for her 2 counts of fraud. On the show, for her tagline, she said, "If I'm guilty of anything, it's being Shaw-mazing." Could that come off a little bit taunting to the court?
Well, not to the court, but to the prosecutors that are prosecuting her. And I also saw she posted something like directed toward Erika. Did you see that also?
Yeah, where she was kind of comparing herself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think Erika would want to be compared to her. There's a big difference between Erika and Jen Shah. I mean, Erika has her own personality and things that she's culpable for, but not in the same level of culpability as Jen Shah, who's basically running a, we could say the word alleged to running a telemarketing scheme. But I mean, to me, what Jen Shaw is doing is the definition of legal insanity, because she's basically helping out all the other defendants who will just testify against her and say that it was coordinated with her. And I think that when she's talking about, you know, if there's anything she did, the fact that she's using the word guilty and sort of even mentioning her criminal case is a very dangerous road, because what they really could use that for, Adam, in legal terms, the reason why it is significant is they could say that she has a lack of remorse, and they could play that at her sentencing hearing, and that's going to hurt her. She thinks that she's going to win her case, and I don't see it that way. I see just like other lawyers, like Avenatti won a mistrial. It's what we call a Pyrrhic victory. He still has to deal with the evidence now. It's not going to be a technicality any longer, and they'll fix the problem and retry him. And Jen Shaw is not going to have that problem, because the judge, there's a smaller defendant field, and she's in a very tough place to try a case where these prosecutors have a lot of evidence, and they're going to put together a fraud. The real question is she going to be able to claim lack of knowledge? And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to show she had knowledge. And then if she takes the stand, they could impeach her with that statement. They could actually play it for the jury, and she'll look kind of stupid in front of the jury. So I wouldn't, if I was charged with a real crime, I would not be mentioning your actual prosecution on a show.
Right.
Was that on a show, or was that on her?
No, it's her. It's literally her tagline for the show, which means at the beginning of every episode on the show, that is how the show will open up, with her saying that. So if it's 15 episodes for this season, if it's 20 episodes for this season, every single episode will start with Jen Shaw saying, you know, if I'm guilty of anything, it's being Shaw amazing or something, whatever it was. So
yeah, that's not good. It seems like someone is not managing her properly.
Right.
And so if someone is going to help Erika this week, maybe if she does have a benefactor, just return some money. It's a win for the victims. That's what I'd like her to do, and it'll come in tax free. Ronald Richards will not charge a fee for it. So hopefully she'll do that. I have a lot more respect for her if she would do that. Punish me, make all my efforts, you know, cost me a lot of money, return $1 million. So you'll cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars.
All right. Well, I feel like we broke down a lot of the information and the stuff that's going out around right now on social media and in the Twitter world. So you addressed a lot of the topics that I've been asking about over the course of this last week. I called out and asked for you, Ronald Richards, to pretty much make it make sense, and you did. So I just want to say thank you again so much for your time. I know it's precious. I appreciate you, and I look forward to having you back on in the future.
Okay, thanks again, Adam. I will look forward to seeing you, and have a great weekend. I'm glad we got to knock this out this week, and I look forward to clearing anything up prospectively. It's always, you have great viewers. I like when they reach out to me, when they say they saw me on the broadcast. They ask really good questions, and it's a fantastic platform, and I thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ronald. I appreciate you, and we will see you so very soon.
All right.
All right, guys, that was another fantastic interview with Ronald Richards, giving us the exclusive as to what is currently happening. So I'm sure you guys have a lot of opinions. I'm inviting those opinions. If you haven't already, go ahead, comment below. And before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell, because, well, you don't want to miss anything we have coming up in the future. And let me tell you, it's not stopping here. We'll see you guys so very soon, and I hope you have a safe rest of your week. Bye, guys.